Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. Leanne, Aaron, you did it! Congratulations, you saved the world!
Woo. Yeah, and installed Matt as leader, apparently.
He's just a popular author. The mouse took over.
Very good.
You guys, it was great to hear you play through. You did really well. It was a hard room. It was sort of just like a lot of puzzles that you sort of have to just sit and figure out.
But it was also a funny one in that way that puzzles were doable and then solvable after, a thing that we can only really do in this medium. Like, that doesn't make any sense in a real world escape room.
Yes, because here you can force us to be like, no.
Exactly.
Explain
If I
first.
wanted to, I could just put in some alien magic that says things don't work unless you fully comprehend what you've done.
And that is why we can travel through space and humans are still stuck on the ground. We comprehend all of our actions. These are the aliens. A sophisticated species that you murdered.
Whoa. But they were murdering,
Whoa.
gathering humans and doing God knows what.
Who
Did
knows
we
what they
murder
were
them or
doing.
did we just shrink wrap them all?
That's true. But no,
That's fair.
It wasn't a book that you received as a present at the end. It was a very small alien, very condensed alien.
I play tested this room a little while ago. Like we were working out, and we had very similar sort of feelings with these. Like, I had that same thing. I found the remote, and I sort of went, well, I pressed a couple buttons.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't know. I stopped pressing buttons after a while because I wanted to try and figure out exactly what it was. But I think you lucked into going, I'm going to press all the grey ones. And Danny went, in what order? And you went, circle, big square, small square. It's like, well, that is the correct order. That does work that way. So yeah, you can pick it up. And you sort of lucked into like a 4-button sequence very quickly, which I think is why you ended up solving it without
In
getting the
theory,
full solution.
It would have been possible, much like the cube, to just say, oh, cool, you have to press them all, and then you get told no, and then the lights shut off or something like that. But I didn't want it for that one.
No, and it worked out well, and you sort of figured it out by trial and error. It was, but you found you got it in the end. I liked that because I had a similar sort of thing where I was like, I think I thought early on like, oh, maybe it's they share something like circle to circle and then grey to grey. But then I was like,
You
oh,
forgot
but now
to account for size.
and I didn't account for size at all. I did the same thing. I had to figure out there were 3 elements
Yeah.
to the descriptions. And it was very funny listening back. I think I said it in the episode as well. I'm assuming it made it to the final cut. But like when you introduced them as very clearly big white circle. They have 3 elements, every single one I'm describing. But once you know it, feels very obvious.
And this did mean once you had the sequence for it, you could see what it was very quickly once you knew what the correct ones were.
Yeah, it was like that reverse, which was very weird. Like, it's fun in a way to be like, this is the answer, but why? And you're just like working backwards, which we did with the longer, with the number
Yes.
puzzle with
The
the
letter
letters.
on letter,
That
yeah.
one was more intentioned along that way.
That was interesting.
Do you want to bring that one up on
Yes.
screen again so we can take another look at
So
it?
this is
the,
now
the
the-
long string of letters that formed the numbers 538.
Yes. Now, this was designed this way, apparently, because I had the same thing. I was doing the playtest, and I sort of just leaned back and went, I'm pretty sure that middle one just says 3. And I'm pretty sure the top one just says 5. And I'm pretty sure, because
Yeah.
it just, you can sort of get a feel from it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know when they do those things
It's
where
a
they're
magic
like,
eye puzzle.
or they'll write words, but they'll mix up all the letters in the middle, and then like you can still
yes.
read the word if you have the first and last letter. It feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
And then it is, but this one was interesting that you, Danny, designed it this way to kind of be like back formed. That you're meant to
little
sort of
bit.
see 538 and then figure out why. Was that like completely intentional from the start, or were you just planning? You noticed that it was readable.
I mean, it was impossible to do it completely from the start. I needed to see them written down before actually knowing that that was true. So no, it wasn't the initial idea, but seeing them written down, I went, yeah, this is how I want it to look.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
But it's interesting because, like as you said, like
I feel I could dig deeper into this potentially and find ways to take exactly what is written here and form slightly different inputs out of it.
yeah, because like it is interesting. We were saying before, like in the end, like you get that it's 3 because every third letter, or like letter 1 and then 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 spells out 3. But you only know to do every third letter because you already know that it's 3.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting, which is
It's a
fine
funny
because
one.
you sort of see it, and then you like it's like that isn't giving you the answer, but it's removing the ambiguity, right? Like it makes it an unambiguous answer once you figure out that every third letter is 3, and of the top one, every fifth letter gets you 5. Like that, but it doesn't actually solve it. Like you have to kind of solve it first. It's really weird.
It was weirdly, for me, I think this one more thematic to fit in with the weird little alien translation errors than it was trying to figure out the steps to get the final solution for a puzzle.
Because
It's
did
a
you?
funny one in that way.
I thought that you had a moment of that, like thinking like, oh, it could be every third letter, and then thinking, no, we couldn't figure that out, like because that would require us to know it. Did you have that moment? It felt like on my end that you had a little bit of that.
Yeah, I just chose every second letter for the first one because I sort of already saw as like the 5 almost worked and it didn't work. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
It took me a
yeah.
little while.
Yeah.
It took us a little while to click that it would have been 5 for 5, but there was no. Yeah, that's the thing. There was no initial thing. You got to the end and then you came back.
Yeah, it sort of
Yeah.
breaks the escape room rules of because sometimes in an escape room, like I don't know if you ever do this when you're playing.
Aliens are weird. Like, you don't follow rules when
Yeah.
it comes to alien puzzles.
But I don't know if you ever do this, like if you have outside knowledge and then you're doing a puzzle and you go, oh, I know this because I have this outside knowledge. But obviously it's not designed that way. So let me try and find their path to get the info.
No, yeah, 100%. Like brute forcing a puzzle in a game is like I don't like doing that at all. And I sit there going like everybody's moved on. I'm like, but how did I do that?
Right?
Yeah.
But then this is weird
wanna-
because it's sort of
But this
got this
one-
like self-referential logic, but it is designed to be brute forceable. It's very weird. I really kind of like it. Now we teased in the episode that there is another element of this
Yeah.
that we didn't get to.
Yes.
Have you been looking at this for a while? Have you found the other element as to what one extra little fun? It's almost like a little fun fact about this puzzle, or
Oh, yeah,
a
it's just
fun
a
little
puzzle Easter egg.
little tidbit, little Easter egg
Where
puzzle.
are they missing? Where are the letters that weren't the same as the one? There were lots of like. I noticed that in at least the 3 one, there's lots of repeated.
There are lots of repeated ones.
So
of repeated
what would
words.
happen if you started at the second T instead of the first?
It's the same
T and then
T.
an R.
tree.
And then an O,
Oh wait, I missed the O.
and then an I.
Troy. Is this 3 in another language?
That is
Yep.
3 in French.
There we go.
Trois.
Oh.
And if you start on the third
Trois.
letter, you get drei, which is 3 in German.
German, yeah.
Oh, that's
And so there are
cool.
5
Oh,
languages
this makes
of
so much
5 in the 5 because they're trying to just translate to human, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't work. They're not translating to English; they're translating to human. So they've ended up going
Multiple.
accidentally getting 3 different languages worth of 3 and 5 different languages worth of 5, and they're all printed. So it actually,
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
Obviously,
All
not,
comes to-
like not something that is like a
Yes.
puzzle to solve exactly.
Yeah, no.
It's just
it's like
Yeah,
a
this was
world.
my
It's like
story fun.
it like becomes an explanation for like, well, why would it be like this other than just to be a puzzle? And you're like, well,
No,
that's just a coding error.
This is good.
3 threes became 3 all being displayed at once in human language because they've taken 3 common languages and stuck them together.
Dude.
yeah, whoever
Yeah.
programmed their globe did a much
Yeah.
better job than whoever programmed their door.
I actually like that.
That's
Now that you got the
very,
language in there.
very
So are there
cool.
8,
There are 8
Oh,
eights
yeah.
and they're
in
all
there.
8 letters long?
Wow.
Do you have a list, Danny, of all? I don't know what kind of work.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at this long enough. Do you have a
Where's
list?
my notebook?
I've
I know, it'd
literally
be
been
7 letters. It'd be
sitting
all
here-
7 letters, and then because
I've
the
literally
last,
been sitting
yeah.
here staring at it, like going through the letters to be like, what
So
other
there'll be
languages?
5 fives, right? Because we have
Yes.
FIVE,
Yeah,
and then we have
there's sunk.
C,
I-
2, 3, 4,
I think it's CINQ.
Oh, be cinque,
What?
cinque,
Sank. French.
sonk,
Sank.
or sonk, sonk.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry,
yeah, the
Victor.
fives. We had 5, sank, fünf, five. I don't know how to pronounce Dutch, and Rima was the other
Rima?
one.
Rima.
Rima.
Where's Rima?
I believe, if my little notes have said this correctly, that might be Maori.
Oh, wow.
Maori.
Oh, that's cool.
And then what are your 8s?
So I used the same base languages. So I started with English, French, German, and then I just added the next ones. So yeah, we had 8, wheat, acht, acht again for Dutch, waru for the Maori, otte, which I think says Danish, ocho, Spanish, and ata, which might be Swedish. I just have SW written there.
Nice. Now, did you have an issue? Surely if one language's word for 8 was too short, you couldn't continue it being every 8th.
Oh, for sure.
So they all, but sometimes they are, like trois is obviously shorter than 3, and that's why it ends with the E.
And 8 was the longest of all of the 8
Is
ones.
that
All-
final T the T
yeah.
from 8?
Yeah.
So all the rest
All
are
of
one
the
letter
others were
shorter?
4.
That's so interesting.
Languages are convenient, it turns out, when it comes to counting, at least. A lot of them have things in common.
But then the 5s were all 4 letters as well.
Yes.
That's so because I just suddenly realized that what must have been a
took me a
was
little
that
bit.
serendipitously easy, or did you just can't keep checking languages and be like,
It was No,
too
it's
short,
very
too long.
easy to find. Just list of languages in the regular counting numbers.
I
That is
suppose
not
that's
a
true.
very
That's-
difficult thing to find in list form.
Well, yeah, I think it's an element that makes it like a puzzle that kind of fits.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a
you are
good
no
little
strangers to putting Easter eggs in your rooms that people don't notice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although all I will say is, I think in the new room, the Easter egg that we hide in every single room is on full display. At some
Oh,
point.
interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, we pretty much shoved that in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Look for this in the other rooms.
Spoilers.
Um,
No, I really like that one actually. Like
Yeah.
that when you know that like after the fact, like you don't notice it in the game. If you don't notice it in the game, but you know afterwards, like yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
It's a very cool element. I
World
think.
building almost.
Did you choose those 3 numbers specifically because they're like the ones in at least English, German, French, or whatever that had all the same number of letters?
I think I went 3. Okay, 3 is fine as a starting point. You can't just use all small ones. You got to get a bit bigger. 5. Okay, this happens to work. How high can I go? How many languages work?
I have to say, I also loved watching your faces for one of my other puzzles that I think in this one they were very puzzly puzzles, and I
you-
really liked them.
Talking about the 88.
Yes,
Oh.
trying to get to 88 and going like, we've collected all the information we need.
We have 88. We need
We know-
84. We just need to go down
Yeah.
4.
Surely we just find which of these
Why
adds up
isn't
to
this
84.
working?
Because that's how
Oh,
this
nice.
puzzle works every time you've ever seen this puzzle, right? In any
Yeah.
little puzzle game, in any,
You
it's
were
just like,
so
great.
worried there was going to be math, like proper maths involved of needing to start from 0 and figure it out.
But it was very funny just watching your faces when you went like, okay, so we remove 4. Huh.
That was nice.
Because it's the same thing. You expect it to work, but you're immediately going, I think this is impossible.
Yeah.
And that's such a hard thing to say or to like lock in, because it's like, maybe I'm just bad at puzzles. I hope not. But it's impossible. It's just like you can't, and even then you found like the right idea of like, oh, and I think I went through this exact same process in the playtest of like, oh, easy. We just we add 8, take away 12.
Yeah.
But you can't add 8. You've done they're all in there. Like,
Yes.
it's so, which was really lovely. And it's good that you, like, I think it's a good sign that like, for you two as players, that you kind of quite quickly went, yeah, I think we know this well enough. We need to find something, because this can't work. This is actually broken. This is impossible.
I think this is actually a sign of trust as well, right? Because whenever you play a game, there's like a certain trust that has to happen between the players and the creators. And not like this is going to be some stupidly annoying, ridiculous solution that makes no sense and has no logic. But knowing you guys, trusting that, like, knowing that the puzzles that you guys do for the show never are unfair or illogical or out of right field, then you're like, okay, clearly there just must be something else we need.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
And then like later on, like it worked the opposite way, where you sort of hit a wall with the glass and the countries and the colors, and you thought, maybe we need something else. So you walked around, you found the other thing, and then you kind of had to come back. And this always happens. Happens to me. It happens to all of our guests. Of like, oh, maybe there's something else, and eventually you get the confirmation of, sorry,
There's nothing.
that's it.
Yeah.
You just got to work it out.
You opened the cage,
Yeah.
went back to the glass cube and went, oh, that path gave us nothing.
And then Leanne started making out with the cube again, and just never ended.
But it's interesting, like the dynamics. I think we've talked
I
about
gave
this.
you destruction, I gave you creation, I even
No.
gave you cube love.
Yes,
Those are the three elements.
companion cube.
Portal of you, yeah.
But we've talked about this before. I think in one of these episodes, like we've had that happen, like other ways round as well. Like I think we were playing one of the escape simulator games, and there was a puzzle that we looked at, and we went, "Oh, this is a hard puzzle, but you can solve it, right? We can solve this puzzle without needing like a key or anything, because you can like do a couple steps of logic at once and solve how this would all work." And then we solved it all, got the thing, and then walked off and found, like, in a different part of the room, the thing that's like, here's the piece of logic you need to solve that puzzle. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, we didn't need that one. That was more, but it was like, it was
No,
designed
just
with this
a little
hint.
bit of extra confused about
Yeah.
what the order of things is.
Yeah, right, yeah. It made us kind of, we're like, oh no, we've broken the order of the room. But it is interesting. Like, sometimes you can, like, it can be hard to make a puzzle where you know it's impossible. and then making people go and find the other elements, compared to like making it hard, or have the elements can be a hint, or making it completely doable, and then the other elements, and then the hint is like, oh, did you not notice? You should, like, it's like a kind of a failure point. Or it's like these weird dynamics of what you need to find to do puzzles. And I think generally there are certain elements you must have, and that's the thing. And it will never be completable until you have all those elements. So I don't know, it's an interesting. Do you find that, like, because you have a whole bunch of escape rooms that are very good, like, do you find there's like a watching people go through the rooms, has that taught you about how to like set up, like, this needs more signposting of when it's doable, this needs more signposting as to get people, like, you have to spend a few months being
How
like,
do you tell people
stop looking
you
at
need
that.
more, or you've got everything?
Stop trying.
We've learned to lock everything away that you don't need at a certain time if you don't need it, to less confusion. Because if they get all the stuff they need for a puzzle, they won't be able to solve until later. That becomes incredibly confusing for them. Because
No matter how much you signpost and be like,
yeah,
you will not need this till later, people will still insist on trying to solve things then and there.
Which can make it hard, 'cause there are some rooms that like to do this, like to give you a piece. Like, you get 3 puzzle pieces from one section and 3 from another. How do you know when you've got all the puzzle pieces?
Yeah, in that context, you'd probably really need something in the room that's clearly mounted and shows the spots for each of the pieces. Then you have a really clear signposting for that.
Yes, that is not, and that is a good feeling. Like, one
Yeah,
more
like-
for the pile.
Yeah,
I got
exactly,
5 out of
exactly.
6 now. There must be a 6th one. Like, that is an enjoyable feeling when you're in the room.
100%.
I think it's really important as well to have that kind of progress indicator, because if people are just going and they're like, I don't know how far along we are, I don't quite know what's happening, but like it doesn't feel as satisfying as when they're just like, okay, so I know that we've still got this much to go, we've got to solve this number of things, or we've still got whatever to do, and then we're good. And you do kind of see that in our rooms as they go along and develop.
But it is true, like, finding clue number 5 is not very exciting, but finding clue number 5 out of 6 is very exciting.
Exactly.
Like, 5 out of 6 is cool, 5 is whatever.
Yeah, foreshadowing the end, just like, oh, I'm nearly there, get even closer. Do you get that sense?
It is interesting as well. We have that a lot in our rooms as a thing that I feel like from a design point of view, it's nice when you see this, which is like a moment of like, I've had this the whole time, and finally I can use this, like, finally, like, it's for our players, it's quite enjoyable to have that moment of like, they've spent all the room trying to make the stick work, and the stick doesn't work, and the stick doesn't work, and then there's like, and we're an hour in, it's like, and you find a stick-shaped hole. But I think for us, like, it's easier because, like, when they try it, we can just say, you try the stick. It does not work, and you should not keep trying. Like,
yeah, we can play off it as well, because, like, I don't know, I'm reading off a script, but I still feel like I'm a character in this.
I think, like, with our games, like, the way we design them as well, because the GM is so involved, like, they're the character
You
in
do
the
have
room
very
and
strong
narrating,
GM.
we can do something along those lines, like, when they do it.
Assuming they listen.
Yes, that is a very big assumption we have learnt, but, for those who do, you can poke fun at them. You can do the same thing where it's just like...
I do distinctly remember in the game being mocked outrageously.
mercilessly.
look, I've apologized for that. You just weren't doing very well.
To be honest, at the start, yeah, I deserved it. I was not doing very well.
Oh.
So we often talk about, like, designing these, because we are very much in, and I say we, I mean Danny, we are very much in this one framework. But you've now, when we introduced you, you've done a bunch of physical escape rooms. You turned a physical escape room into a virtual escape room, and then you made bespoke kind of online escape rooms. Have you found, like, the design principles are exactly the same, or are you doing different? You're like, oh, I'm in a virtual space now, I'm doing stuff
Things are
differently. It's a whole different ballpark.
No, it almost has to be completely different. Like, you need to take, well, not completely different, but you need to take into account the medium that you're
Yes.
working with. It's very important. Like, you So the one that we translated into a virtual sort of from a physical to virtual was pretty good. Like it worked well, but I think we improved a lot when we made it just for the online medium. Like
Yes.
having a multiplayer element as well, where you can do something and something happens in the other person's game is kind of fun as well. That sort of stuff, and just does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think a lot. I mean, even just translating from physical to virtual, the same game, you realize you can do a lot more in terms of the narrative, for example. You can add more background. You can, because, people are clicking around, looking at things, and you can add that kind of info to it. I think music, background music, although important in physical, it's not as important as in, say, a virtual space, where otherwise it's like dead silence or just your home, and it's just not as nice.
Yeah, that's fair.
To kind of like set it. But yeah, I think when we did the then full virtual, it was more like, okay, cool. What can we then do, just like in a space that you wouldn't just normally see you wouldn't do in a physical space, for example.
Yeah, you can make some magic stuff happen too, like certain things that you can't do, like a huge, like a whole thing disappears in a physical room, but you can do it in a virtual one. Actually, I think like that's probably taking another step and doing like designing a physical game with the avatar kind of thing. Like you can do, I've seen some really good online games where you're remoting in and watching a person do some stuff, and they use the mechanic really well. Like there's one where you can change the attributes of things in the room, change the colors of certain items, and they go around changing all the colors of the items around the room.
What?
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's
That one scrapped the
Yeah.
laboratory of shifting rules.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
we
for
still
sure.
run it.
Okay.
Not sure.
But yeah, the tailoring to the medium is very important, and they did
Yes.
a really good job of that.
Like you want to use the attributes unique to that medium.
Yes. Yeah.
course.
So because
Otherwise-
otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? It
Yeah.
feels you can tell when
You
something
can tell it's janky, like it's
Yeah.
been just like shoved into this like new medium, and like I think we're lucky that we added more to our physical to online conversion. Like it made it a bit more, it flowed all right
Yes,
because
yes.
we added the extra
A
audio
lot of
files
the
and
narrative
and-
stuff and the audio and
Yeah.
all of that.
Came
And
together
so,
well.
conversely, did you feel that like playing this one, and I suppose playing online ones, but in particular, talk about this podcast.
Of course.
Did you feel like playing this one, you followed all of the same rules that you would do when you are playing through a real escape room, or were you doing things very differently?
You know, we did the same stuff we did in a normal escape room where we didn't look around enough and that sort of stuff. Like that happens in a normal room. I feel like that happens all the time.
Yes,
so.
we never look enough and we just keep missing stuff.
Mm.
But I think with this one as well, like the thought process was slightly different because I was treating it as partly like TTRPG in the sense of like, let's do this ridiculous thing as well.
And I tried to really lean into that with the starting of this one before you actually get into the spaceship. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just pelt a dude with snowballs.
Yes.
I wanted to duplicate the coins again and again and again.
I would have loved that. I agree with that. You can turn this into
then-
an Earth Ponzi somehow.
Yeah, and we can give Matt his one coin back, and then it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It's all fair.
It is all fair.
And yeah, just like saying, oh yeah, this door has a complicated lock. Well, we've still got our destruction ball. Let's do that again.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
I have no problem with reusing things occasionally for a little bit of story.
Yeah, no, I do like it when you have a mechanic that you reuse in a general game. It was actually good. Like using the duplicator again was really good. Like because it's a thing you remember. Like, oh, I've only got one of these. Oh no, oh duplicate. Yes.
Yeah, I had this problem earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's I do like that callback to that sort of stuff. It's a delicate balance between doing that in a real escape room where you use a mechanic twice. Mechanic's okay, but if you use like some things twice, it tends to be a bit
Some people
like
are
don't use like a key twice.
It
Definitely
would have
not.
been a little
Yes.
bit weird if the answer had been to grab one of those batteries and be able to block the exhaust port with one of those.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, and I think
Unusual.
you threw that as a guess with that in the same energy I do with a lot of like. I'll say it because I don't think it's going to work, but I don't want to have not said it.
That's,
Like I'm like I can't use the batteries, can I? No. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to use them really.
Yeah. It was
Because you're right. It's that feeling of like, I mean, look, this kind of makes sense, but it wouldn't be satisfying. So
Yeah.
I hope this is wrong. Could I use them? Good? No. Oh, great. I love that. And I do that a lot when playtesting, where I was like, oh, I don't want this to be the answer. Because if it is, it will be bad. But let me just quickly put it out there. And Danny says, of course that's not the answer. Oh, good.
it fills time while I think about the real answer.
Yeah. But look, in the end, like you did very well, and you connected up. It is interesting, like search failures are sometimes even more embarrassing, even though they shouldn't be. When it's like you didn't see the huge glowing map in the middle of the room, and it's like, well, I didn't know it was huge and glowing. I can't see it. Like you have to describe it to me. The orb has been humming the whole time, you fool. It's like, yeah, I didn't know that. What? So like sometimes in these, like if it was a real escape room, like it would be like. There's you solved the puzzle that made you able to see the map, which was that the map was too bright because the power was overloaded.
Yeah.
Obviously, if this was in a real escape, it would be very different. But if you were in a physical space, you could see that there was an overly bright map, and it would take your attention straight away.
Walking to the thing in the middle of the room,
Yeah, you would pass it by, and you would think, "Oh, what's it?" And so it's interesting with these things. It's like, oh. You know, when you don't search something in a real escape room, it's like, yeah, you didn't notice the drawer under the chair.
This is definitely a thing I've noticed both in real escape rooms and in these that I struggle with when creating them is like making sure that things have puzzle flow and all of that is fine. If like making sure that nothing can be broken sequence wise, but then making sure that every possible sequence of solving is equally satisfying.
Yes, that's
very hard.
It's
Yeah, how do you like go about signposting things? Like, how do you find it?
God knows.
Look here.
Have I ever successfully done that? I have no idea. That might just be something that I am gambling on every time I create one.
Well, I will say the thing that you do that we talk about a fair amount with this is like you're good at your connections in description, right? Obviously not as ham-fisted as you find a stick-shaped hole, as my earlier example, but with that same sort of flavor. Like you like to throw in little like keywords, or like, you know, how do you get us back to the duplicator? You just mention the idea of, and you have a thing. You have exactly one thing. There is a single non-duplicated object, right? It's like these little like, but often like we've played, you know, if you describe something as rectangular, then you sort of save the word rectangular for later. I think
you helped me with appropriate level deflections at some point. Like, you wanted to loot the humans quite early on, and I would have let you, but it would have been weird, like, to specifically point out at that point, you notice a distinct lack of coins on these people, except for one coin that you end up finding. That would have been weird, and luckily, Billy, you helped me by deflecting with Twitter stock.
Yes.
Right.
That was satisfying too.
But I think there's part of it. It's like sort of keyword matching, or like things that fit in a similar sort of descriptive world as other stuff. So connections, you're quite good at. But I do find it's interesting. It's super hard to predict how people are going to start a room.
Yeah, and some of my rooms are satisfying if you logically follow a path, like you go to this object. Well, now it feels like that sort of connects to that object. Maybe I should wander and look at that one, and I'll look at the other stuff later. But sometimes it is, things are most satisfying if you just walk clockwise around the room. And yeah, you can't know what people are going to do with that. And yeah, I very much just cross my fingers and hope that it's going to work either way, I guess.
Even just for like...
all I focus on is making sure it's not broken, really.
Even just for like starting object. Like even in a room, you can be like, and then... The pièce de résistance, the huge, giant, glowing orb is encased in glass and it sits, the one thing that you need to turn off to solve your problems. Interesting. So I'm going to check out like this thing on the door behind me. Like, okay. And I do this all the time, right? And like, you know, because you never, but then some people will just be like, oh, a big glowing thing? I want to check out the glowing thing. And some people are like, the glowing thing, I'm going to save that for later. It's like, you know, when like when you're eating a meal, and some people are like, well, the steak is the best part, so I eat it last. And I eat the... Some people are like, well, you eat the steak because it's great, and then the side... And then other people are like, oh, just jump around, eat whatever, and mix it all together. You know, and it's... You never know. Sometimes you just got to feel it. The thing that I think is funniest is that people respect the geography of the imaginary space. The amount of time it's like, well, while we're over here... While we're over in the corner of the room, so you're not in the corner of the room.
You did that a little bit.
Everybody does.
You definitely went power source, other device.
Yeah, like why check the other device?
Yeah.
Not because it's the most logical thing because it's here. I'm next to the device. Of course I check it. You know, but and everybody does it. No one, we've never had a guest who doesn't. And it's just so funny because you're not any closer to the device pragmatically than anything else in the room. No. It doesn't take longer to get back to the cage than it does to the device.
I'm moving my avatar around on the table here.
Right. It's just really funny. We commit to the physical space as human. Like we get it. We're like, no, I'm in the space now. So of course I'm going to get the thing that's next to me. It makes sense. I'm not going to walk all the way over there by saying I walk all the way over there. That's too much effort.
Too many words, yeah.
It's just really funny that that's always consistently been true.
And you'd think I would try to take advantage of that a lot more when I create rooms, but I get worried. I start to do that, and I start to like get concerned when I've put too many puzzle elements in one corner of a room, so I just throw one right over there. And I go, is that fair? Oh no, are they too far away? They'll never connect these things. They're so far away.
It's just I don't know. I just find it. I still really find it interesting.
Yeah, because like I think we solved the puzzle first without even realizing what it affected. Like
Yeah.
we solved the power thing, and I actually thought it was a really nice segue that you did then. Because after we solved that straight away, when we finally got around to the globe, you were like, it was glowing
I'm
very brightly.
relieved
but
that you
now...
thought that wasn't clumsy as hell. Oh my god.
I thought that was a really
panicked.
smart
That made
way
sense.
to slide that in.
If we had have gone the other way around, like had it dull, like it would have been dull and not legible if it was like below 84 or what it was?
Probably. I don't think. Did you have a description
I
for
had
that?
ever thought about
would
what
think
would
it
happen
must
if you'd
be.
removed stuff
Everything
and then
and then
looked at
added
the
it.
map.
Yeah.
I suppose I would have. I would
Would
have
have
said
just
that
had
it
to be
was literally
dim.
only little fragments of it were even visible.
You can't quite say. It
Yeah.
looks roughly like it's 27 out of 84 bright.
That may well have been a line that got said.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking like, yeah, if we had removed everything and gone back to it, it would have been
Yeah,
very
quite possibly. I
interesting.
would have said, hey, you saw the holographic map there before.
It's good.
There's nothing there anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Damn.
Like-
Is there some way that I can insert a step there where you have to remove everything and then go around the room again? I don't know how that could possibly be true, but
You
that
enter a
feels
room,
fun.
the brightest room you've ever seen.
So you desperately need to clamber your way to turn off the power.
You could, you probably could like set something else up that's like turn this off and on again. That's also powered. So like if there's an error
Ah.
with like the translator board or something, it's like try
You could
turning
just
me
do
on
that
and off
with
again.
The map.
and-
The map is just super glitchy, and you recognize this. This is a standard. Turn it off and on again.
But then the problem is, I
You
think
might
like,
have accidentally done it.
then the power is like, well, I've used the power to turn the room off and on again. It's like, no, but you also have to get the power to the correct
Yeah,
level.
that's why I
it's probably
wondered,
too many
yeah,
power
and
usages.
It's tricky. It would
probably
definitely
cleaner
require
to
some
keep it
thinking.
the way it is.
More than 30 seconds just talking about it off the
No,
cuff
get
right
it,
now.
get it
could
right
do.
now. Come on.
Like, I would do this with a lot of things in the room. Like, I do the languages thing. Fun is an Easter eggy thing for me. I'm sure there's a way to make it that like a real proper puzzle, and I just haven't thought of it yet.
Or yeah, I mean, even if you could have something where you eventually find what that translation is in a more reasonable way. That's like keyed in, like this is the word hello, and that it's in two languages or something.
Like a translation
Ah,
thing
yeah.
somewhere
yeah, like you
else.
see a translation thing that goes a bit wrong, and then you like gives you a clue as to the numbers.
But how would that relate to? That
Well,
have to
you see
relate
it-
to the numbers though.
Yeah, the thing is, the number
Yeah.
That
part
would be very
is so
tricky, yeah.
integral to that translation. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you see it flipping through like a ton of languages first, and just like,
Mm.
hello, I don't know what it is in French. Ciao. No, that's wrong language. That's Italian. Whatever. It's fine. But you see it flipping through all the languages, like the relevant ones for that. And
That's
then finally it
interesting.
settles on that.
Yeah, that's true. Even if like the map
Hmm.
just like gave you the country names in English and then went
Yes.
through some different languages.
You know, I feel like the thing you'd need is some way to have the idea that the definition of the word
Helps
or
figure it
affects
out.
the way it is displayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
if
Yeah,
like we're
Funny
translating
one
the
I ended
word
up with.
red in lots of languages, and it keeps sucking through them, and the text is always in red as well. And so and then and this one says square in a language,
And it's,
and
in a
it's
square.
written in little square. Be like, okay, so the type of word affects the way it's being displayed. So there's three of them all stuck together. You can, if you're going to expand it out as a puzzle, maybe that's the element you need to
I
hit.
wonder.
That the definition affects the rendering of the word.
Hmm.
And then it's a video game, and you add like a little audio log of an engineer being like, "I'm trying to
Yeah,
fix the
of
problem,"
course,
but
of
yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, it's
Something mashed
It's a
up.
funny spot that I ended up with myself in in these puzzles.
Hmm.
They're
But I
weird
think-
ones.
I think when you do it that way, then that then goes away from the you see the numbers first.
Oh
and then
yes,
work
that
it out.
eliminates that
Yeah.
the thing that
Was
was
kinda
already there
cool.
of like it is just recognizable in a weird way. Then you'd have to
Yes.
ask yourself, why do I recognize this?
Mm.
Yeah.
Which is again a very different way of doing it. But it was fun. It was nice to just be able to go 538. Probably.
It's a
Why?
bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
But what?
I
And
thought it'd be sad to remove that.
I think it's catered, like some of these puzzles, catered to our audience who don't want to skip through puzzles and go as fast as you can, who actually just want to sit and figure them
Yeah.
out.
yeah, if it was open for the general public, I'm sure they'd just be like 538. I don't
just
care.
try it
I don't
anyway,
care
and
why.
then
Let's
keep
just do
going.
it.
Yeah.
It's probably 538. It feels like it.
Mm.
But yeah, it's fun. It's like an intuitive puzzle, and then you have to second guess yourself and get a proper exam. What we should have said is, if you get the wrong 3 numbers, you die. One side is attached to the door to the cage, the other
Oh, sorry.
to a large knife
Is that better
suspended
than me
above the
saying
cage.
alien magic means you can't do it unless you understand it? Because
That is true. Either one.
if there was some actually non-embarrassing way to incorporate that as a rule for this room, I would totally do it.
And life. Wonderful. Well, I think we can probably. Does anyone have anything else fun from the room that they enjoyed? That want to try? I think we've covered most of the elements that we did there.
What do you think of my story ending?
Oh yeah, the ending. I hadn't heard that before. I just heard that the first time now. I like it. I felt a little sad for the alien.
Yeah, he was a bit lonely on the
Kinda
planet.
just had
But
to- he didn't even get to take the mouse with him.
oh, the mouse. Oh.
Yeah, it's a little sad for him. Had to just get sent home, forgotten by the people. But
And
you
then
know,
just get stuck at home, can't even go on trips anymore because that's like
but it
single
was
people only.
nice to have
Sorry.
Matt pop up again at the end with his as the
Yes.
author and have
I
a book
just-
about his story.
Even then, what I really wanted to just rub the title of my arc in your face a little bit more.
E.T. escaping.
It's
Terrorist escape
E.T.,
trail.
E.T.
Yep.
Just got to yell it at the end.
That was an
And-
excellent title.
And I wanted him being a doomsday prepper to stay relevant and be important.
That was fun to bring that back, for him to have collected a whole bunch of fresh water.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Like, I was trying not to laugh too loud as you were reading it, but I was just cracking myself the whole time.
But it was nice, and it resolved itself. I like that, like, it starts as a 4-part arc. Like, it starts with, like, him thinking, oh no, alien invasion. I like that we finally did get to an actual alien invasion as the end, just as a little twist, even though the first 2 were very anti-invasion. And
But to be clear, I'm still quite anti-invasion.
Danny loves invasion. But no, it was fun. It worked. It was nice to resolve it. Did you find it hard to write something as a 4-part? Like, we've done
Oh, no,
10-part
the shorter
arcs
the easier.
so often. Then we did 5. Was 4 and 5 any different, or is it just shorter than 10?
I think this one was different. The 5-part arc felt like it naturally fit in because I was fitting it into a pre-existing story almost. So it's just, how many beats did that story have? Well, to me, that had 5.
Yeah.
And how many
There's
did
the classic
this
5-act
one have?
structure.
All I could get for this one was, this one just feels like 4.
Oh well, it worked out. I mean, look,
Yeah.
it worked out. It was fun. It was, and I did enjoy the ending. I enjoyed the signs aliens.
I tried to fit as many different kinds of weird alien stuff and just weird sci-fi things as possible without it being too deliberately, how many can I shove in here?
Well, you also unknowingly
Ooh.
put in a 3-body problem reference
I
as well,
did?
so, to some
Oh,
good
dear.
Chinese sci-fi. When you describe the aliens as like shrinking down and becoming little like husk aliens right at the very
Oh,
end. There,
excellent.
that's a whole plot point.
Everything
in
I have heard
3-body
you
problem.
describe 3-body problem to me about makes me
So if they dehydrate.
existentially panic. And
Yeah, that's
I
what those
can't
books are for.
Read it.
So there you go. You got more sci-fi in there as well. Well, I think that's good. I think
Thank
we can
you,
end the
Leanne,
episode.
for noticing some of my things that I put in there, like a Star Wars.
Like a little
Yes.
exhaust ports on the thing. that
Exactly.
exploded.
I wasn't going to pass that up.
Thank you.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Leanne and Aaron. Like, that was great fun to have you. It was wonderful.
It was so much. It was so much fun to play.
I'm
Thank
so
you
glad.
for inviting us to come play.
It's
No, thank
weird
you
that
guys,
we
yeah.
haven't had you before.
Yeah, we live in the same city. What, we're here in person. What?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you
Use
know
us.
what? That's actually made it the harder part for
Oh,
us,
yeah.
hasn't it?
That was the
That's
most
true.
complicated part of this whole process, was going, whoa, I got to get these 2 extra microphones out.
And people in space, like, you're feet away from us right now. Ugh. When was the last time that happened?
True.
Well, you're kind of hiding behind the microphones a little bit.
Yeah,
it's
you
it's
can-
still a little bit of a
Well,
protective
well,
thing.
Social distancing. That's kind of
Well,
happening.
lovely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Our dog is now wailing in the
The
background,
dog is
helpfully.
freaking out. if people wanted to go and play some of your online games or find out how to book if they're in Sydney, where should people go? Where will we send them?
Nextlevelescape.com.au.
And if you want to play the online games, you can check out escapingonline.com.
Oh, look at that.
Highly recommended. Every last one of them.
Yes, highly recommended.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Danny, for running a fun room.
We're all done for a bit.
We're all done for a bit. All right, bye, everybody.
See you
no,
at
wait,
Christmas.
hold on. Don't leave yet.
What?
Don't leave yet, everybody.
What's up?
If you want to help support the show, go tell a friend. Go to a random internet forum and be like, hey, check out Escape This Podcast. It's so good. And if you want to help support the show as well, you can sign up for the Patreon. Anyone at any level can become an NPC in one of the rooms. Is there an extra NPC in this
There
one?
were no extra ones in this room, so
Still
once
Matt.
again, thanks to Matt.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so, Matt.
In
And
addition, also, all levels of our Patreon helping me write my interactive fiction story on our Patreon. I am writing a chunk of it and then giving patrons a choice that they vote for, and then I write the next
yes,
chunk.
so go be
All
part
levels,
of a fun,
do that. It's fun.
choose a path
Torture
adventure.
me. Make me write things that I haven't written yet and have to panickedly do at the last
So you
minute.
can check that out. There's bonus episodes if you want to hear the playtest audio or listen to us solving a series of 2-minute mysteries. It gets weirder and weirder as we go. If you want to get
Get your
badges
very
for
own
$10
check the door
donors,
badge.
it's a whole bunch of fun stuff. So go and check out the Patreon as well. And thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody for playing and running. Let's all say goodbye.
Bye.
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 I don't do that.